Hi, this is Drumbit, and it's open here in the browser. This is a 16-step sequencer. In other words, we've got 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've divided each of those into 4 subdivisions in here. And if you remember from grade school music, that's 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda, 4 eanda. I'm also a big proponent of Richard Hoffman's Takadimi system, which is a westernization of the North Indian solfege, rhythmic solfege system, which would just be Takadimi, 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 Takadimi. Anyways, here we are able to build up our own drum beats. As you can see, there's crash and ride and some toms, some different hats. You're going to focus most of your energy here on the kick, the snare, and the closed hi-hat. I have kit 4 selected. They're all going to work for you to varying degrees. There's not one that won't work. Just pick one that you like. Kit 4 sounds to me the most like a regular drum kit. I think the default one is more of an EDM style. Anyways. We've got 3 layers. This is taking from 8-Bit Theory's YouTube, excellent YouTube video about writing drum parts for non-drummers. And he talks about it as having a groove as having 3 layers. And the groove, the base layer is the beat. And in normal rock music, that's a kick drum on beats 1 and beats 3. And you can see here, this is just like almost like a spreadsheet. We're looking at columns and rows. Everything that's in this row is got a kick drum sound, and this is on beat 1, and this is on beat 3. And you can add them in here anywhere you want to, but we're going to start with this bass one, and it sounds like this. Now, pretty boring by itself. We're going to add what he calls the engine, and this has got this contrast to it. And we're going to add a snare drum on beats 2 and beats 4. And this is called the backbeat. This is beat 2, beat 4, and together they sound like this. Cool, so there's that. The third layer is what he refers to as the constant, and that is something that is a recurring sound that ties those 2 things together. And the most common basic version of this is 8th notes on the hi-hat. So I've got it here at 1, and this is and. Remember, we're talking about 1, E, and So we'll just put it here on the and of 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Sounds like this. From this basic beat, we can change some things up to make them more interesting. You can have the beat be asymmetrical. So if we put a snare hit on the and of 2 as well, this is sometimes called a twist beat. So the snare is not only just on 2 and 4, but also on the and of 2. Sounds like this. Right? So if let's take that away, and let's add a kick on the and of 1, and this gives it sort of an appealing asymmetry. You could also put one on the and of 4. Or you can put it on both. Right? Okay. Now, let's talk about rhythmic displacement. What we can do to call attention to some of these snare hits, or if there are rhythmic hits that we're trying to pick up from the other instruments, we can put a kick drum right before it. So I'm going to move this one off of beat 3. I'm going to move it onto the and of 3. And now you've got more attention called to this snare hit right here on beat 4. Let's take a listen. And we can make this even more pronounced by moving it closer. We've moved it onto the 16th note. Check it out. And you can combine that with, like, let's put this kick back on the 3. Right? Okay, some very cool things on there. Now, we can also change the texture of the constant. So let me take this thing out, and we'll go back to our really basic thing here. And we can add, let's add like galloping 16th notes. And this sounds really cool with 4 on the floor. There's a kick drum on each beat. And we might take this, and instead of having this one be here, it's got an open hi-hat at the end. That open hi-hat sounds pretty terrible. I'm actually going to turn that one off. but it's a very time-honored tradition, and something that happens all the time. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to show you is what is called a halftime groove. So let me reset what we've got going on here. Oops. Okay, so we're back to our standard beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A halftime groove is we're going to take the contents from here, beat 1 and beat 2, and we're going to stretch it over the entirety of this thing. And so it ends up sounding, so we're going to take away these ands. So now we just have 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, we're going to take away this snare hit and this snare hit. We're just going to put it on 3. And now you've got the same thing that you had before. Half as long, half as fast. If I took this tempo and I changed it to double it up, you would have. Sounds just like it did when it was the standard non-halftime beat at 80 beats per minute. Anyways, it's a really great idea to play with these things because the step sequencer is sort of like tab for drummers because it really helps you visualize the things that you're hearing, and you can go through and you can change it and go, well, what does this sound like? And if you can go through and you can sort of map this out to be not just random squares on a grid, but also think about this as being 1 E and a, 2 E and a, all that stuff, you can really sort of improve your drum IQ and understand more about how rhythms work, which makes all of the things that you're doing musically sound better. The best musicians that I know are all obsessed with making their grooves and their rhythms tighter and better and more musical, and I think you should be too. Anyways, see you next time.